Welcome to the Georgia-Florida Baseball Podcast. This show is brought to you by the Georgia Showcase Baseball YouTube channel and its owner, Coach Ben House. Ben, how we doing?
Doing good, KP. How are you?
Man, I'm good. I'm your host, Kevin Perkins, and today our guest is Atlanta native Carlos Cordorza. Carlos, how are we?
I'm doing well.
Good deal. Carlos is a Decatur product who is currently a AA manager for the Texas Rangers organization. Today, we get to talk to Carlos about his experiences in Atlanta area baseball and how that fueled his journey from Decatur high school baseball coach to a career working in all levels of player development for one of the premier organizations in all of sports, the world champion Texas Rangers. Sounds good saying world champion Texas Rangers, huh?
Got a good ring to it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, right. Okay, we're going to do all of that and more after this.
This is the Georgia-Florida Baseball Show, brought to you by Coach Ben House with Kevin Perkins from Surrounded by Sports.
Ben, why did you decide Carlos needed to be on this show?
Well, I'm about to tell my age a little bit here, but I coached Carlos in high school. And just, knowing how hard Carlos always worked, always the first kid there and the last kid to leave, always asking for extra ground balls, before practice, after practice, and just seeing his journey to, from where he was to where he is now. I wanted everyone to hear his story and how he got to where he is now. Right.
Carlos, you're born in Puerto Rico. How do you wind up in Atlanta?
So when I was 3 years old, my parents and I moved to Princeton, New Jersey. My dad was doing his doctoral work there, and on the weekends, he and my mom pastored churches in inner city New York City, so South Bronx and Spanish Harlem. Once he finished his schooling, we moved to Atlanta, Georgia, which became home since I was 7. And he taught at Columbia Theological Seminary there in Decatur. My mom taught in the school system there, and that's where I kind of grew up within the city of Decatur and a Decatur high school graduate.
Okay, when did you start playing baseball?
Early on, Pops took me to the field, probably around, 6, 7, not dissimilar to, most everybody,
Right. Yeah. Now, when did you start doing travel ball and Little League and all that?
Yeah. So when I was, coming up, there was still little leagues, but then travel ball scene started to kind of, take off. But it was at age 14 when got a little more serious in the travel ball circuit and that sort of thing. And that's when I started playing with Keith Whitner of Jack City Baseball in Duluth, Georgia. And that's who I played with throughout, my high school days.
Right. Now, Keith Whitner was a big influence in your life.
Keith Whitner, outside of my parents, and and he's been probably the most influential person in my life. Outside of my folks.
Right, and we'll get into that as we go through this thing right here. When did you come across Ben, or he'd be Coach Ben, I guess?
Yeah, it was in high school, and it was with my dad taking ground balls at McCoy Park, which was our home field for Decatur High School. And I don't know how I found out that Ben was a former professional player. And Ben was kind of like a hero figure for me because, we didn't see people like him come around the field that often. And just kind of the way he carried himself and just kind of the pedigree he carried with him. I kind of looked up to him instantly, and he probably hadn't heard that until right now in this podcast. But that's when we met. That's when we met around the same time I started, on that travel ball circuit in high school.
Right. And You said to me that Ben took the time to speak to you and to speak to your parents and let them know that you were good. He helped instill some confidence in you.
Yeah, like, at that time I was, looking back, there were people that I now know that believed, and you could say were in my corner, or thought, I could play at a higher level, and there were people that didn't. And perhaps some of the people that I thought would push me and want me to play at that level, weren't in my corner. And here you have someone who, has played the game at the higher levels. Was coming off of, wasn't that far removed from playing, so those eyes were very fresh, and he had no, like, he wasn't coach. He wasn't my high school coach. He was at that point, a community figure and someone who was helping. And for him to take, time to give me a tidbit, a nugget here and there, and basically he imparted knowledge, encouragement, and confidence, probably way more than what he thought. Just for someone like him, taking the time, to invest, whether it was 30 minutes of ground balls before practice, 30 minutes of ground balls after practice, or just having a conversation with my mom and dad about, something he saw in me and things I could do better as well.
Right. Ben, how's that feel?
Feels good, man. Just hearing that, Carlos, I appreciate the kind words, man. But Carlos was one of those kids, man, that you would always see around the park early, and and always asking for information, important information, and he paid attention to details, detailed things, whether it's footwork or just he was just always one of those curious kids, about the wanting to answer, or either ask the right questions, and he wanted the right answers. And I knew he was going to be special. And I would talk to his dad, man. Me and his dad would talk, for hours, after practice, or during games or whatever. And at the time when I met Carlos, I think I was the coach at the middle school at Renfro.
That's right.
And that's when me and Carlos became really, really close. But I always saw something in Carlos, and knew that he was going to be a special kid. And just watching him, and I stayed in contact with his dad throughout the years. Even when he left Decatur, I stayed in contact with his family, and I always asked where he was. And he told me one day that he was the coach with the Rangers. And I was like, really? And we would me and Carlos would text, and he was over in the Dominican at the time, and we would text, and I was just telling him how proud I was of him, and I knew that he was going to make something of himself, with baseball,
Right.
because everybody doesn't play the game forever. And he continued to stay around the game, and now he's still living his dream by helping the Texas Rangers in their organization, and they have a gym in Carlos.
Right. Let's talk about how you managed to get to the Texas Ranger organization and the Dominican and all that other stuff. You play high school ball, then you go off to college. And then you go off to college, and then you come back and you are going to coach. You're an assistant at Decatur at first. After 1 year, that guy moves on to somewhere else. And I believe you told me you weren't necessarily wanting to be the head coach, but they talked you into it. Is that right?
That's right. I had no really vision, aspiration of coaching. I wanted to teach, and I wanted to be in education, and I wanted to be in educational leadership. And down the line, I wanted to go to law school, and I wanted to be in education reform. So just kind of look at, how we teach and what we teach in our public schools. And Pete Bartlewski at Druid Hills High School asked me to come on board. He's another influential person and coach in my life. He asked me to help at Druid Hills High School as an assistant. I did that. And then the following year, the coach at Rusty Bennett at Decatur High School moved on, took another job, and then they asked me to step in as interim. I did that. And then the following year, they asked me if I could stay on, and I fell in love with it and decided to do it.
Now, early on, you did so I thought was fascinating. When Rusty leaves, you told me you knew you needed help with your staff, so you raised money and you got some advisors, you got some consultants for the program. That's pretty smart for a guy that's 1 year into the gig.
Um, yeah, well, once I decided, yes, let's do this. Lessons learned early on. If you're going to do something, do it to the best of your ability. And I knew how lucky I was being in that program to have someone with Ben's knowledge and experiences around when I was a player. So I thought we would best serve the players if I went out and sought out, more experienced coaches at whatever levels, but that could, one, help the players be around the program, two, help our coaches as we try to align instruction, from the middle school levels, throughout the varsity level. And three, just be a set of eyes, for myself and what things we could do better and that sort of thing. So we went out and sought within the travel ball circuit in Atlanta, people with college pro experiences as players and coaches. And, thanks to the really the families at Decatur High School that kind of rallied around this idea, we were able to bring them on board and have them around for a year, helping us, coaching us, and, helping form that program the way we wanted to form it at that time.
Right, but then you quickly wind up transitioning almost amazingly. Somebody talks you into going and trying your hand at finding an MLB team.
Yeah, well, the way it happened was that after a year of these individuals helping us, I asked for feedback for myself, what I could do better going into the next year. And they were the ones who encouraged me to try to find a way into professional baseball. And then that led to me going out to the winter meetings of Major League Baseball in San Diego the following year. And that's how I landed a gig with the Rangers.
And you said you were so naive, you wound up in the wrong hotel for a little bit, and then you just kind of start talking to people you didn't know if you were supposed to be. You're talking to Leland, Hall of Fame coach,
Yeah.
World Series winner, just walking around trying, and it's stumble upon the Rangers.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's kind of embarrassing. But you for anyone who's not familiar with the winter meetings, it's basically Major League Baseball's national convention, and it happens in December. And every organization goes. They have a big suite inside a hotel where they're planning out, roster moves. They're planning out stuff in the minor leagues, just any and everything. You have all the executives of every team there. And in the lobby, it's kind of a who's who of Major League Baseball. You have MLB Network, you have, ESPN guys, all these people. So I just said, this is how I'm going to try. And, I sent out some emails and stuff before I sent in, just get some feelers, I think they call it. And I show up to a job fair that they do for minor league operations. And, within 10 minutes, I knew that I had wasted, my money to sign up for it. Cause, the job openings were for ticket sales, merchandising, promotions, and the people that were turning their resumes, it was, multiple graduate degrees, law degrees, MBAs. So, I was like, man, I don't know if this is going to work for me, but, I go out to try to find the lobby, and I'm in the wrong hotel for 2 days. So when I say it's naive and embarrassing, like the job fair and all thing was in the convention center. There was a hotel on the left side, or a hotel on the right side. I was in the hotel on the left side. Just like I said, just naive. Like I didn't look it up. I was like, just for 2 days, I'm like, what's going on? But the third day, I finally stumble upon the right hotel and kind of deflated, because I was like, man, I really wanted to come out here. I really wanted to just get to know what the experience was going to be like, and just kind of deflated. So after walking in and seeing the lights and seeing big league managers and GMs in the lobby and just feeling the energy of the place, I'm walking out. I was like, man, this was great, but, let's, it's not going to happen. But Jimmy Leland, Hall of Fame manager, is sitting on the bench outside of the hotel. Legs crossed, smoking a heater as he does. And I just walked up on him. And, hey, Mr. Leland, my name's Carlos Cordorza, XYZ. I'm coming here to search of an opportunity because XYZ. Do you have any suggestions for me? And he said, well, son, I can't give you a job, but what you said sounds good to me. I'd go back in that lobby and say that same thing. And, that pumped my air, my tires full of air. And I went back in the lobby and I ended up running into some people with the Rangers. And, the next day they called me back and had a second conversation and they decided to give me a shot.
Yeah. So they send you to the Dominican and you're doing it. I'm sorry. What's the name of the league?
It's the Dominican Summer League.
They called it the Tricky League, though.
The first league was the Tricky League, yes, which is players in the international market. Players are eligible to sign at 16. So right. It's basically once players sign at 16, they spend 2-3 months in the Tricky League before they kind of move into the Dominican Summer League, which is the equivalent of international rookie ball.
Right. And you, within a couple of months, you're the head of the Rangers version of international signings, correct?
Of player development, yeah,
right.
at the Dominican and at the complex level, yes, sir.
Right. And now you've managed to work your way from there to coaching rookie ball, to coaching A ball, to coaching AA with the the Frisco Rough Riders.
Yes, sir. The Frisco Rough Riders.
Right. And you had an experience also doing the how does the Arizona League work?
The Arizona Fall League is a league that's run after the season, from October to November. It's a 6-week league. It's you could call it a showcase style league. There's 6 teams, and each team is comprised of representatives, staff, and players from 5 different organizations. So every organization sends, a contingency of players and staff to form part of that league, and they play for 6 weeks. There's an all-star game. There's a championship at the end, and it's kind of, the people that are knocking on the door of getting to the big leagues. For example, from the year before when I was there, we had 10 players on that roster debut the following year, and then the following year there was even more players out of that roster debut.
Wow. So yeah, it's the highest level of minor league baseball.
It's a mix. It's a very talented league. It's probably the day-to-day level is probably not as clean or as close to the big leagues as AAA, but you have a very good mix of young prospects and people that are at the AAA level knocking on the door of the big leagues.
Right. Right. Okay. So you're in this organization that's been voted. They said that it's the best run MLB organization going right now, right? That's separate from winning a World Series.
Yeah, correct. It takes into account, all of the everything that happens from the minor leagues up through the big leagues.
Right. Do you mind telling us a couple of the things that you feel like are keys, like maybe the philosophies of the Ranger organization, maybe some things outside of that you think are keys to their success?
Yes, I'd love to. I think leadership. I think it starts there, and with that, it's the vision that is articulated to all of us throughout the organization about what we want to accomplish together. I think it starts with setting the highest of standards, en route to accomplish that vision. We have some organizational pillars that apply to each and every one of us, no matter what department we work in, whether that's research and design, whether that's player development, whether that's the big league operation, whether that's scouting. Those 3 pillars are to compete with passion, to be good teammates, and to dominate the fundamentals. And something we hear all the time is that two of those take no talent. Competing with passion and being good teammates, take no talent. The dominating the fundamentals part is something that we will, work on and will continue to work to develop. And then it does take, talent, but it takes talent combined with the right character to live out those standards and those pillars each and every day. And that starts at the top. And in our organization, that starts with Chris Young, our general manager, and Bruce Bochy, our major league manager. And in the farm system, it starts with Josh Bonifay, our farm director, and Kenny Holmberg, our field coordinator. So they set the tone, they set the vision, they hold us to the highest of standards. They message our pillars each and every day, and they support us, in helping us, reach that level on the daily.
Right. And as a AA manager, you told me also that you got to see how the development at your level impacted the World Series run, whether it be through trades or promotions or whatever.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. The group that was here, the group of players that was here in Frisco last year, whether it was Evan Carter, who played on the World Series team, whether it was Thomas Ajayci and TK Roby, who were traded for Jordan Montgomery, who was, a horse for us down the stretch, whether it was Luis Angel Acuna, who was in the trade for Max Scherzer, whether it was Alex Spees, Owen White, guys that debuted during the regular season. We got to see players that we worked with every day here in Frisco have an immediate impact on the big league team, in multiple ways. And I was lucky because I got to see that group of players, a bulk of them. I was with them the previous 2, 3, some even 4 years. So I got to see, their development process and see how they, helped us win a World Series championship.
You get a ring too, right?
We all got rings. Yes, we all got rings. We actually had our ceremony on Monday, so it's nice. It was nice.
Nice. Okay, we're gonna take a break on that, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna tie all that in to how the coach that influenced you as a young man, Keith Whitner, and his lessons are similar to what you're going through now, and how all of that helped to fuel you. Okay, after this.
Yes.
Cool, man.
And we are back. Thank you to Arden's Garden, your source for smoothies, juices, and plant-based foods. Thank you to Showcase Apparel, our other sponsor, and your place to fit your team. We'll get with you after this episode and let you know who won the opportunity to have Showcase Apparel make you a shirt. Now, two things stood out to me when you were talking about this. A, you were saying your travel ball coach and the lessons he taught you carried you through. The pillars of your organization are very similar to what you learned at the travel ball level, correct?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Right. And you told me a thing about leadership that I thought was good. How did you put it? The people are the product. You want to expand on that?
Yeah, I think what I mentioned was that you hear oftentimes notions, comments like make people feel part of the process, or make coaches feel the part of the process, or make players feel like and I heard this one time, it's that no, like people are the process.
Right.
Like, you try to make you feel no, we are the process. And Keith Whitner, my travel ball coach, was that for me. And yeah, that's the that was the quote, and that's I think that speaks to the investment you have to make in people, to help get the most out of them.
Right. Well, none of this works if we all aren't invested. none of it works without all of us working, right? Ben, that you go through that every day, right? That's what you're teaching.
Yeah, absolutely. People are the process. And without Carter Wilson was the AD at Decatur High School, and he gave me an opportunity to start coaching at Renfro Middle School and also at Decatur High School. And he's a big part of my process. And also with Carlos, because he was there when Carlos was there, and he would always tell me about Carlos and some of the things that he has, some of the skill sets that he had, and it made me pay attention to Carlos a little bit more. Yeah, people are a part of the process, and I'm just thankful for Carlos being able to be here with us today and kind of tell his story and and let everyone hear about about his process.
Right. Now, Carlos, you took the lessons you learned. You have a brother that's significantly younger than you, right? He's like 12 years younger than you. Is that right?
Yes, Esteban. Okay. Yes.
And it comes a time where he's going to play travel ball. And tell us some of the things that because you have an extensive background in baseball, you know what I mean? But and I would assume you could get him anywhere. But what were the things you were looking for when you were going to put him into a program? What did you talk to your dad? What did y'all work on?
Yeah. Well, I'll try to tie this in. I saw the latest episode. I believe it was with Delvin Jordan of Noon High School. And I think one of the topics you guys hit on was the expectations of parents. Mm-hmm. And when to start delivering those. And Ben talked about the reality of baseball and how hard it is. And, having played travel ball, played high school, gone to college, and then my brother was going through that. I think I was able to help my pops, my family, and my bro just have some perspective about realistic expectations and just the realities of the game. And I remember Keith, when he came and gave end of the year speech at Decatur High School, he said that I can't do it justice but he was like, the space between my hands represent like all the kids that play like little league. And then this represents, the kids that play in middle school. And this represents the kids that play JV. And this represents the kids that play varsity. And this represents the kids that play college. And then he goes, and he starts shaking his hands, and he goes, the space between my hands represents, the kids that play at the highest level, at the pro level.
Right.
And, this is a big dude like Ben, physical dude. So it impacts you. But then he talks about like baseball essentially as a means to an end. Mm-hmm. And that kind of image, no one took it as discouragement. Yeah. It was totally the opposite. It was like, this is what I'm up against. And then this is the roadmap on how I can get there.
Right.
And with my dad and my brother, it didn't become so much about like the shiny, spotlight program or the name that's buzzing right now in the travel ball circuit, or like, who might have like the premier facility in the area. It was more about, Pops, where can we get little bro to a place where he's going to be taught the right way to do things, the right way to play baseball, the right way to practice, the right way to prepare to practice, like taught what it means to work hard, and someone that's going to believe in him and push him to be his absolute best. Like that's where that's where if we can find a place for bro, or we can find a place that will do that or come close to that, I think that is far outweighs, the name or the hype of a program. And not saying that places with names and hype, are bad places, but
Right.
like the criteria we need to look for little bro, is that. And I think my brother found those, some of those places, and he went on, he played college ball at a high level, but he's not playing professionally, but he's doing a lot of good things because of, I believe, everything that was instilled in him through travel ball and all of those values that were kind of taught and exemplified for him.
Right. Well, the point, I mean, we want everybody to have a lot of success, right? But the bottom line is the lessons we're learning working with Ben, the lessons you learned through the process, you may not be the guy that's going to get to play shortstop for the Braves or for the Yankees, but you can be the dad who is doing well enough to take his family to the ball game. You can excel in life. You know what I mean? And what you take away from the game is what allows you to deal with the consequences and the ups and downs that every day gives you, right?
1,000%. And I'm a dad now, and like 1,000% times 1,000%. And it's funny. It's like when you're talking about coaching players that are 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, like up to like even the level here, you talk about athletic development. I think it has to go hand in hand with human development, and to maximize a young person's athletic potential, you also believe have to help him maximize his overall human potential as far as, how he goes about his day to day. I don't see how for a 12 or 14-year-old kid, not teaching him to be a good person and a hardworking person and a good teammate and what it means to play hard every day and how to do that. I have a hard time believing that doesn't directly translate to him becoming a better player.
Right. One thing we've been hitting on lately, maximizing your individual potential inside the betterment of a group. That's everywhere you're ever going to work, right? That's every family you're ever going to be in. That's life.
1,000. Yeah, for sure, Kevin. And not to go on a tangent here, but I remember my dad, Sonia Sotomayor, is a Supreme Court justice, Puerto Rican, female from the South Bronx. And I remember my dad telling me about a quote in her book that, that she was asked about if she ever like dreamt of being a Supreme Court justice, just how the numbers are stacked like against you to be that, especially someone from her background.
Right.
And she said, I would never I'm paraphrasing here, but I would always strive for that, because striving for that, you're going to reach the best version of yourself, like whatever that is. So I think the realities of baseball, that you guys talk about on the show that, Ben has hit on, it's not to discourage anybody. It's to like point and look up to, what the possibilities are, and that they're really limitless and endless, if you go about it the right way.
Right. Right. Ben, I want to wrap on that. Ben, you got anything?
No, Carlos kind of hit on everything, man. But, the number one thing that I deal with on a day-to-day basis is, parents just, kind of venting, about their kids, maybe not playing, maybe not, doing some of the things, the coaches may be teaching, but they're not doing it in games or whatever. No parent wants to see their kids hurt, whether it's physically, physically or mentally. No parent wants to see that. But this is what life gives you, baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Once baseball is over, you're gonna, kids are gonna deal with adversity in life, whether it's, having a family, dealing with day-to-day things and, jobs. So, and I tell parents all the time, let your kid hurt. If his feelings are hurt, not being able to play, not being on the field, you're not seeing him on the field. And a lot of times it's not the kid, it's the parents that's seeing his kid maybe sitting on the bench, or
Right.
whatever, not in the rotation or whatever. But, continuous work, prevails.
Right.
Kids, working hard and continue to work hard. And that's what life gives us. The harder we work, the better we are on our job. So it's the same thing with baseball, same thing that life gives us.
Right. Ben, how do people get in touch with you?
My number is 678-469-5994. My email address is showcasebaseball.georgia, spelled out, at gmail.com. And my Instagram is showcase_baseball GA.
All right. Carlos, do you want people to get in touch with you or?
Oh, for sure. They can reach out, C Cordorza at texasrangers.com. If I could be of support for anybody or anything like that. And then Ben has all my contact as well.
All right, guys. Carlos, thank you so much. I appreciate this, man.
No,
Wonderful getting to talk to
Thank you, Carlos.
No, thank you guys, and congratulations on what the show is doing. The impact you're having in Georgia, Florida, but Ben, the impact you're having in a community that's near and dear to me as well, in Atlanta. And I'm just excited for you guys, and to see the impact this is going to continue to have in our community and for generations, of players to come and people to come, in our society. We need it. We need it.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Wonderful. Y'all have a great day. Thank you for watching this show. Check out, we'll tell you who won the t-shirts after this. Welcome to the post game. Quickly, Ben's contact information got kind of interneted out there at the end. That's 678-489-5994. The first three winners of our t-shirt design and giveaway are Kenneth Phillips at Fog Font, which is at PHOGFANT, and Sports Chat with Nat. You guys won because you commented. We picked you out as winners this time around. We'll pick new winners next week. Now that's right. Now that you know you've won, you call the number 678-489-5994, and you'll get with Coach Howes, and you guys will design your shirt, and it'll be made by Showcase Apparel, and you'll have something unique to you and your organization or whatever it is you want to work with Ben on. Now, folks, that means if you comment next week on the episode, you're eligible to get a shirt as well. We're doing this every single episode from here on out. So right now we have Kenneth Phillips at Fog Font and Sports Chat with Nat. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you going on this journey with us. Take care of yourselves. Have a great week.